All right, let's start here. Edwin, who I found out is from the PNW because he commented after my video, but he said, "Are we stuck with Vanney for the foreseeable future? Doesn't seem to be on the chopping block."
That's a good read.
I'm worried about this one. I mean, after what we saw last season, I think it's going to take another. It seems like the only way we can get change in our front office is to boycott. So maybe another boycott is in
Hit him
order.
where it hurts.
We'll see, but it seems like unless finances are affected, change doesn't really happen.
No. And we've talked about this with Vanney for a while now about just kind of this feeling of safety around his position with the club just because he's so involved. And now I said that you can't have one man have all that power. It's a good Kanye line, but I think it's true. You can't. Andrew, where are you at with Greg Vanney?
It's such an interesting question because I feel like until recently I've had this very pro Vanney reputation, this Vanney backer. I was very, maybe I just woke, whatever you want to call it. I was very in support of Greg Vanney, and I think it's the fact that I'm even debating saying I think I still am. I think that says a lot. It's just a similar conversation. Like you mentioned, Dylan, a couple years ago, he did have his hand in every pie. And in that sense, yeah, he was probably overburdened. And yes, he wasn't coaching as well. And that's why I did excuse a lot of the overperformance. Massive failures, like not making the playoffs, even get a little bit excused. But for me, the thing there is that he kind of has the club by the balls in that situation. They can't let him go because, like you mentioned, Dylan, he has his hands everywhere. It's going to fall apart if you can. He's like that one super invaluable engineer that you hear at a tech startup. If that guy goes, the whole company goes. It was a similar situation. That's not the case anymore. But as soon as he gets relegated to just a coach, boom, 3-year contract extension in the middle of the worst start in MLS history and all of this stuff. Again, the optics there looked awful. It's something he had, quote unquote, earned for winning the playoff season. But there were still a lot of issues defensively and in a lot of ways with that year. And it's just, at this point, I don't think Vanney has done enough good stuff to outweigh the bad stuff at this point. And there is that 1 year, but even in the back of your mind, you think that's Ricky Puig's MLS Cup. You know what I mean? You kind of question if any other coach is in there, does he still win it? Probably. If he has any other team around him, does he still win it? Probably, as long as they're semi-competent, right? Like that Galaxy team was. It still leaked a ton of goals. It was just about enough of a core or something else to surround Ricky Puig. Again, all of that to say, I've come a long way in how I see Greg Vanney. I've definitely done a lot of appreciating of Greg Vanney. I don't know if there's any other outlets or people who cover the Galaxy who have kind of given Vanney his flowers or kind of backed him in tough moments as much as I have. But it's just, there isn't enough change. There isn't excuses explaining that lack of change anymore. It's just, I mean, even if I was a Vanney backer till I die, I'd be running out of things to say. And I'm not a Vanney backer till I die. I'm an LA Galaxy backer. And it just feels so clear that it's Greg Vanney maybe isn't necessarily, he's not worth at least keeping around at the very least. Whether or not we fire him is maybe a different question, but keeping around, renewing, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up the next question here, which is a kind of a continuation of the first one, but does he get fired if the results against Minnesota and against Toluca? What I will say is I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Regardless of how I feel about Greg Vanney, and even if he goes on to lose both legs against Toluca and the Minnesota match, I don't think they make this decision until the summer. That's my personal opinion on it. I said on the last pod that this was the most important stretch of Greg Vanney's tenure within the team. But what I will also counter with this is all of the noise surrounding Greg Vanney in terms of his job security and all that stuff is all external. From every reporter and all the reporting that we've seen, everything internal is they very much love Greg Vanney and nothing can touch him. And so as much as I want to say, yes, the hot seat is definitely on, the evidence in front of me is telling me that it's not. And so I'm not going to scream fire if there isn't fire. Once the club shows me that there's fire, I will then start to talk about it because I think this, for me, this is going to be one of the last times that we talk about Greg Vanney for a little bit, because I'm tired of having this conversation when I know that nothing's going to change. And I also do want to give him some credit, because I don't think that all of this is his fault. And I wanted to actually, before doing this mission control thing, I wanted to name this section Blame Game, because that's what this current portion of Galaxy Land is we all are trying to find someone to blame. And I'm starting to run with the idea that it's everyone's fault. And like, I'm letting people off the hook, but they are also to blame for some of this. And so the blame game needs to be shared. And so to this point of, do I think he gets fired? No. Do you guys think he gets fired at all through that?
No.
This portion?
100% not. Even if he loses these games, all of them. I think it's going to take a lot more to get him gone. And like you said, it's definitely not completely on him. I definitely think he's not helping himself with a lot of the decisions he's making in the substitutions.
Yeah.
But this is 100% not fully on him. And I'm sure there's outside pressures for parts of his job and parts of these decisions that he's making, like there is in a lot of these MLS clubs. So definitely it needs some context. I'm definitely not happy with him currently. I don't really know who we would change right now if other options are even available, like Nancy, but
there's a couple.
Yeah.
To point this question back at you, the Portland match, was there anything that you thought Greg Vanney got wrong in this one in particular?
Portland, not really. I think previous games, there was some really questionable subs. I just think the team kind of let him down in Portland. It was just a toothless performance. So, like I said, he's not helped by the team. He's not helping himself either, but there's definitely outside factors that are making his job a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I agree. The Portland game for me was kind of this, he learned from mistakes in some of the matches, but Greg Vanney can't put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah. That's not his job. His job is to set up the team. And all the substitutions, we were texting in our text thread, all the substitutions that were made were ones that we all were like, yeah, we could see that working here. He brought on Miller. He brought on Cuevas. He brought on a second striker. But at the end of the day, like, if Greg Vanney is putting them in positions to score, like, we still we won the XG battle again, whatever that means, to a certain extent. But I can't ask much more of him in that regard. And so this is why the blame game gets spread between everyone.
Can I jump in and do something I've never done before? I don't think I've ever criticized Vanney when someone else has kind of praised him or disagreed with Vanney praise.
No, fair.
But in this situation, I agree with that statement that we did like his subs. But I think the reason that we liked his subs is because in my eyes, those players should have been starting. And the reason they weren't starting is because of the rotations he had done all the way back to last Saturday with SKC, where he rotated the SKC for the Mount Pleasant game. Again, rotating for a game you have a 3-0 scoreline in already is stupid to me. Yeah. I don't understand that. It's such a great time to rotate players, give these guys rest, and then you hit SKC with your strongest team. You could have won that game. You hit Portland with your strongest team. You could totally win that game. 10 men for 70 minutes. So
yeah, that's a really good point.
That's a good point.
The subs were right, but the reason why he had to make those subs, I don't like.
Yeah,
and I've talked about that since last Saturday. I've been pissed ever since for a while about that.
No, it's a really good point. And I think when we went into the season, the CCC topics that we hit were these teams were inferior. We should take care of them with our B team. And outside of the first match in Panama, we saw the same structure, the same system, the same everything, and we barely beat San Miguelito. And then we won 3-0 in that first leg. And to Andrew's point, there was zero reason, regardless of who you're playing. Like, I understand that having the second leg is a big thing for the CCC matchup. I honestly don't give a shit. You have to go and play Toluca in Toluca regardless. And they could still pump you fucking 6-0 at home, and that home leg doesn't mean anything.
My mom says this phrase I love. It's like for multiplication, the order of factors doesn't mess with the product. It doesn't matter if you play them before or after. It's the same aggregate scoreline.
Yeah.
Literally, the away goals mean the same. You have to go to Toluca. If anything, that travel path is a little more convoluted now because we go from home to Toluca to home to away, and it's a mess. So I don't like the idea that we're playing with our food when we don't have anything in front. Like, we're playing with our food, expecting another plate to come, but that plate isn't coming. So I think to that point, that's fair. And now we can get into the last question when it comes to Greg Vanney, which is tactically. Shout out to LA Galaxy since 96, who's been great on X in terms of responding to us and having real dialogue. But will Vanney adjust tactically? And if so, what formation, considering the squad we have, is best going forward? Dari, let's start with you. Do you have any tactical changes that you would bring to Vanney's system?
It's been kind of just all over the place. So I don't really have a prediction on what he's going to do. I feel like I haven't been super tapped in with the lineups, especially the few games before this one. I couldn't really watch too closely.
But why would you? If it's always changing as well. Like
exactly, yeah. It's too hard to follow for me. So I can't really, with confidence, give one.
Andrew, do you have any thoughts before I go into a spiel?
Yeah, I think the interesting part of this question is with the team we have right now, and you're looking at a team without Ricky Puig, obviously, but without Joseph Paintsil, without Glesnes. And for me, I look at like the best Galaxy performances we've had, and I really like, obviously, that game against Charlotte was really good. And that game, I even look at the first couple of minutes. I think it's against Colorado. I might even been thinking of the wrong game. I think I am actually, because I'm thinking of a home game. But there's a game at home. I think it was SKC. It was SKC. We don't have Gabriel Peck because he just got that red card in the game before. And we played this narrow system with Cerrillo, Winder. I want to say Sanabria was in there as well. Marco Royce is kind of like a 9. Klaus also as that 9. I think you had Harbor Miller, I forget, but we had some change, and it was basically a diamond shape, that shape that Mila talked about a couple of weeks ago. And with those midfield legs really doing all the work and connecting with Marco Royce really, really brilliantly, I thought we were cutting up Kansas in those first couple of minutes and playing through Marco Royce in the middle. And we finally figured out how not to isolate him and get him involved in places where he can impact the game in all stages. And to me, that looked really, really exciting because it was a clear variation of the 4-3, something other than the 4-3-3 working, other than playing through width and crossing balls in. We've known that Aude and Cuevas, we're always going to have that option. We've known that with Paintsil and Peck, we're always going to be able to play wide. But we don't have those players. We won't have Paintsil. We have this half version of Gabriel Peck right now. We need to figure out how to not depend so much on that wing. So for me, that narrow formation was the way forward, and it looked really, really good with just Marco Royce navigating it. And I remember watching that game and thinking, if we had Peck here just to destabilize a little bit, to even distract a little bit of defenders, I think he could just about tip that balance. So I think, again, with this team, that's the way to go forward. It's kind of narrow. Let Marco Royce continue to be the best player. And all of that funnels Klaus, who has been fantastic. I think if you continue to feed Klaus, he can get about a goal a game, genuinely. So that's what I see. I think it's that narrow system. And then when Paintsil does get back, and hopefully we have a more healthy team, we can go back to that traditional width play. That does look really good with this new defense first system, but we don't have that. So that's the only thing else that we've tried that I've liked. So it's that narrow system.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. To the idea of him changing tactics, when Paintsil's healthy, you can't change it. You're playing with wingers, so that 3-2-5 shape is the best that you can do. Realistically, there's not a whole lot of variance that you can have there because you need to have at least some form of width, but you're using wide players. But right now, without Paintsil, I think that narrow formation makes a lot of sense. And the thing that I would do, and I don't know why he hasn't just even toyed with it and he toyed with it for a little in this game, is I'm taking off Tommy and I'm putting in Sanabria. And then I'm moving Peck into a striker position. And I think that you see this a lot with Real Madrid when it comes to Vinicius. Your width can come from a striker. It's totally fine if that comes that way. And if you watch the way that Vinicius Jr. plays for Madrid, it's a lot of just those balls over top, going in behind, playing direct in that 4-4-2 shape. And one of their main players, and I'm not going to say that Sanabria is Freddy Valverde, but the idea of that player where you can move a central player to wide positions defensively and then make your shape very width oriented once you move forward is the way that I want to see this team play. And honestly, the one thing I've been super impressed with with Sanabria in general is just how direct he's been this year.
Yeah.
Very much molding into like a 10 kind of player, like a defensive 10. It's kind of contradictory, but if you can play that way if Painsel's out, I have not seen anything out of Tommy to really make me think that he's worth having there. And obviously whatever we're doing with Peck isn't working. So let's try something different. Let's move him into a different spot. Let's allow him to kind of free roam. Let's let him essentially say, like, hey, if we're going to fully go into Peck ball, like let's kind of let you do whatever you want in whatever positions. Let the game come to him a little more natural instead of it being forced to him in the wide areas off the right. Like if the ball's coming to him more naturally off the left, then go to the left. And if it's coming more naturally off the right or through the center, whatever it is. Yeah. But I know Greg Vanney and I know that's not going to happen. So tactically, I don't think anything changes. I think that he's pretty sure that this is going to work eventually, and he's willing to beat a dead horse until we get there.
Yeah. One thing I'd want to say, what you described reminded me a lot of that Charlotte performance where it was Sanabria. He has that assist to Gabriel Peck, right? The long ball over the top. It's exactly that. Sanabria is so good at that forward direct passing. We talk about Marco Royce being isolated. Sanabria actually passes the ball forward in the midfield, so he can do that. He gets it out to Paintsel, to Peck. So again, it's just Sanabria and that question, why the hell do we keep on benching him? Why is he not in the team every single game?